Joseph Fares just released another Game of the Year contender last month, and the praise just keeps pouring in for Split Fiction. I played through it twice, with two different people, and I have to say, what this game does so well, just like It Takes Two did before it, is spectacle. Too many people demand hard games nowadays, but having something with medium challenge really allowed me to take in everything that was happening on screen. This was further helped by the checkpoint system, never spawning you too far away from the action, which gave the game some of the best momentum I've experienced. However, it's time for me to complain about something I've been holding in since long before this game's release. Something I finally can't bite my tongue about any longer, after seeing it in Joseph Fares' past 3 games. The writing in these Hazelight games is bad, you guys. And this has been the case since and including A Way Out. It seems a lot of reviewers have found issues with this as well, but I'm here to say my piece, and also defend Joseph Fares' ability to write with one of his first games. Let's start with something that all 3 of the Hazelight games sadly have in common: forced conflict. While I did find Zoe to be kind of endearing, they made both of these characters annoying by forcing a conflict between them for the most arbitrary of reasons. You're a fantasy writer? That shit's trash. Sci-fi is where it's at. Sci-fi? We got a Obi-Wan over here. Is basically what it boils down to. They force conflict on things real humans would not fight about, even from the very beginning of the game. The game starts off with this incredibly obnoxious interaction.
So what's your story about?
It's science fiction.
Oh, sci-fi. Sci-fi's cool. I write fantasy.
Look, I don't mean to be rude and all, but I really don't do small talk.
Oh, okay.
It's a 30-second elevator ride. You can't play nice for 30 seconds? I get what they're trying to do with Mio, making her a guarded character whose trauma keeps her from making friends, but will open up and learn to love over the course of the game. And this can be done well, but it's also the most trite way to handle a character with trauma, on top of it being poorly written in this game. A lot of my traumatized friends are incredibly kind, even overly so, and it would be fun to see why and how that unfolds in a character, instead of the same boring, empty shell with spikes on the outside that we got. This forced conflict is also done so poorly in It Takes Two, to the point it ruined the characters for me, as well as from what I've heard for many others. I was preying on their downfall, and was genuinely confused when they ended up back together at the end of the game. Playing 2 characters who are constantly bickering is only interesting if the banter is done exceptionally well. But in the case of It Takes Two, it was so bad, it distracted me from the fun of the rest of the game at times. Forced conflict is a factor in A Way Out as well, although it makes a little more sense for 2 hot-headed prisoners to be at each other's throats. But it was still done in a way that I found distracting over interesting. Another major thing these 3 games rely on is cliches. I could almost predict what the characters were going to say next in each of these games. They are riddled with corny lines taken from movies, or phrases that no human being has ever thought to say outside of a TV screen.
No! Gary! Gary! Officer down!
God.
Somebody get a damn ambulance! Gary, stay with me.
What do you mean, stay with
Please.
me? He's a bullet in
I'm
his
sorry,
head.
please.
He's limp as a biscuit.
Somebody call an ambulance!
Which is so unfortunate, because there were some lines in Split Fiction I found quite evocative, due in no small part to the actors. This line from Zoe when talking about the loss of her sister really got me.
I just hoped that in time it would get easier.
Does it?
Nope.
The delivery felt emotional, and it felt written by someone who actually has experienced grief before. But it was marred on either side by cliches that took away from the moment.
One minute she was there and the next she wasn't.
Okay, another cliche.
After that, everything changed.
2 in a row? Come on.
We became hollow.
Hollow. Oh no.
My family.
So why does this bad writing in these 3 games irk me so much? Typically, I would shrug off bad writing and focus on the gameplay. Let's be honest, it's not uncommon to have subpar writing in AAA games. But I can't do that with Split Fiction, because I've seen the potential for greatness in Brothers. Brothers is Joseph Fares' first game, made before forming his studio Hazelight, and it is an exceptional narrative. There are 2 major reasons I believe Brothers works so well, while the Hazelight games fall short. It comes down to language and vulnerability. Joseph Ferris, if you haven't seen him in interviews, is a very bombastic character.
Fuck the Oscars, you know? Fuck the Oscars! Fuck you! I'll tell you!
And you can feel that a lot more in his recent games, to their detriment. The language, as I've said, is filled with cliches, and seems dumbed down as an attempt to appeal to a wider audience. English is also not Joseph Ferris's native language, which is another reason I think he relies so much on catchphrases. Without a deep knowledge of the English language, it would be hard to come up with convincing, realistic dialogue, which is in no way Joseph Ferris's fault, as I bet getting an Arabic spoken game approved would be a nightmare. Brothers avoided the language barrier by having no dialogue. The characters utter small phrases every now and then, but in a made-up language that he based on Arabic.
Talking about Arabic English and Arabic language, the language for Brothers is actually inspired by my own language in Arabic. And you will actually, people who listen to this and understand Arabic will understand some words.
He lets the visuals tell the story, and visuals are something he absolutely excels at. Secondly, I think vulnerability with the writing plays a huge role in my disdain for these games' narratives. They all feel like they were constructed from a blueprint, rather than drawn up from experiences. There doesn't seem to be much that is written from real-life events in any of these, just a vacuous, generic story beat after the next. The characters don't feel based on real people. The closest we get is Zoe and Mio being named after Joseph's daughters. This is not the case for Brothers. In the developer commentary for Brothers, Joseph Ferris talks about how his real-world experiences were brought to life in the game.
So this is a very hard part, which actually was very tough to record. And for me, it's even more personal because when I used to live in Lebanon, I moved to Sweden when I was 10 years old. And my mother, you know, I really want a little brother, and my mother has had like a lot of miscarriages all the time, like almost 4 or 5 times. And I think on the 4th time, you know, when she had miscarriage again, she actually asked me to bury my little brother myself. So me and my sister went out to bury my little brother. So that was very hard for me. But I mean, this scene is kind of like inspired from my own life, you could say.
I can't imagine what kind of heartbreak burying your own sibling would cause, and I think it was incredibly brave to talk about that in the developer commentary. It's this kind of vulnerability that makes Brothers such an emotional and beautiful experience. You can feel that passion in the storytelling. For Hazelight's next game, I truly hope Joseph Ferris listens to one of the cardinal rules of writing and returns to writing what he knows. Because while the story has suffered in his last 3 games, the fun has been at an all-time high. Combine that with a heartfelt narrative, and we will be given a masterpiece from Hazelight.